what I wanted to push for during that time was wala tayong pinagkaiba sa ibang tao. Lahat tayo gusto magbuhay ng marangal, lahat tayong gusto magtrabaho at kumita ng pera, lahat tayo gusto magkaroon ng love life. Lahat tayo gusto yung ganon. So it was in 2001. Katatapos ko lang and actually, December 2001, katatapos ko lang i-release yung first solo comic book ko, which was One Night in Purgatory, which was also LGBT. Pero medyo drama yung kwento ng One Night in Purgatory. I was trying to figure out what was the next story na gagawin kong comic. So I started to write a new story about a group of LGBT people who are descendants of the Babaylan, and they're trying to stop an ancient evil from taking over the Philippines. Yung ganon, I was going there. Yan, so medyo action adventure comedy ganyan. So while I was like in the middle of writing the script for that, bigla ako nagkaroon ng vision. Yung vision na yan ay merong isang tao na may hawak na isang napakalaking bato tapos isusubo na niya. So, it just came out of nowhere. As in, I was talking to a group of friends at that time, and then biglang yun na lang parang biglang na lang nag-pop sa utak ko. And then parang while mulling over it, parang inabandon ko na yung sinusulat ko and just went for this new concept. And yun, so and one thing led to another na iniisip ko na yung mga pangalan nila, kung yung adventures nila. Naging inspiration ko yung Supergirl movie ni Pinky Montilla, the old black and white superhero movie natin. Sa simula nga, yung the main characters, Ada and Dodong, their names during the time were Leia and Xandro. That was their first names before in the original script. But eventually, I decided to go with Ada and Dodong. So I released it as a self-published thing. So nag-invest talaga ako ng pondo para ma-print siya. That was November. Around late mga November 2002, and then the entire book was dahil kulang ako sa pondo noon, I had to split up the book into two portions. So part 1 was in 2002, part 2 was in 2003, early 2003. And then nung nanalo siya ng National Book Award, sabi ko, parang siguro pwede ko na siyang ilako sa mga publisher. And by 6 Degrees of Separation, I found Visual Print Enterprises. They were just starting out as a publisher with their Bob Ong books. And so, so nag-present ako sa kanila, and Visprint agreed to publish it na. The movie and the theater version, so both of them came out in 2006. Pero it's like mga 2 or 3 years before that na ako kinontak for that. Kumbaga, the first one who contacted me was Tanghalang Pilipino 4, the stage musical. And then I was also emailed by 5 or 6 movie producers, or reps ng movie producers that they wanted the movie made. And then eventually I chose Regal for that. So yung parang nakakabigla lang na you had the stage musical debuting in January, February of 2006. And then pagdating ng December, nandiyan yung MMFF with the movie. So parang it was like a crazy time for me in 2006. So kumbaga, dyan talaga nagsimula, and the sales of the book were more than I expected. The attention from media was more than I expected. So it was a crazy ride during that time. This was during the time nung wala pang Facebook. Wala pang Facebook, wala pang YouTube, wala pang ganyan-ganyan. This was
more
still
organic
Multiply.
Oh.
Yeah, no, this was
Multiply.
still Friendster Multiply era pa to. Ganyan. So kumbaga, and then the whole notion of viral did not exist yet, ganyan. Pero I remember clearly na since this was a self-published book noon, so nagpa-imprenta ako sa printing press, meron akong stock sa bahay ng mga copies. And there was it was only available in one comic book store, Comic Quest. And they only had like 3 branches at the time. So Mega Mall, North EDSA, and Alabang Town Center. And doon lang siya binebenta. And the proprietor manager, Vinny Simbulan, was telling me, so this was the time when the Inquirer review came out by Rui de Vera. So this was around March of 2003. If I'm not mistaken. So when that review came out, Vinny Simbulan tell me, Carl, I've never seen so many homosexuals in my life. So it was like, nagsisidagsaan daw yung mga LGBT sa isang comic book store, which is more frequented by straight guys looking for the book, yung ganyan. And so yun, and it became siguro parang in its small way became the equivalent of something that was viral because people were talking about it, people were sharing it, people were giving it as gifts to friends, people were stealing it, yung mga ganyan. So, and I clearly remember at the time, yung parang thinking, oh my God, what have I done? Yung mga ganon, yung ganong level. Ano bang nagawa ko? Gumagawa lang po ako ng comics. Hindi ko po ito inaasahan. Yung ganyan. Especially, that was 2002. Tapos, hindi pa uso yung mga, yung the whole LGBT movements and ganyan. They weren't even existing at the time. I mean, the way it came out in the 2010s and ganyan. So during the time when I was with a group of comic book creators during that time. And ang tanging pangarap lang namin ay gumawa ng comics. Yun lang naman. Para lang may magawa yung gano'n. Kasi as a comic book person who not only collected Marvel comics, nung kabataan ko, we also bought yung mga weekly newsstand, yung mga wakasan, yung mga Pilipino classics, yung mga ganyan. So, na-experience ko yung nawala yung Pinoy comics during the 90s, yung unting-unting siyang nawala. And so I was essentially part of that group na who wanted to make new Pinoy comics, ganyan. And so the whole idea of adaptations, wala sa utak namin yun. Because the whole idea of getting adaptations only came out nung nagsilabasa na yung mga Marvel adaptations, yung mga X-Men adaptations ng pelikula, Spider-Man, Iron Man, ganyan. Doon lang silabasan yung sentiment na, yung comics ko gusto kong gawing ganyan, sana maging pelikula. Pero during the time, hindi masyado eh. So, innocence. Innocent life lang kami noon. Gawa lang kami ng comics. When the offer started to come in, lumabas ulit yung, posible pa pala na ang isang, a relative newcomer in the pop culture comic book scene from obscurity can be something more. And yun nga, yung parang, so later on, yung parang as the years went by, Mervin Balonzo's Tabi Po from comic book naging series siya sa Signal, and then you have Budget Man and Kadyo Baldisimo's 13 being picked up by Netflix, yung ganyan. So it's only happening like fairly recently. Pero during the time, 2002, 2003, it was not. It was inconceivable. Pag nagsa-self-publish ka, syempre, yung pinaka-challenge yan is getting people to read it. So, bago lumabas yung review ni Rui de Vera sa Inquirer, pahirapan. So, I had the comic book in Comic Quest for quite some time. for a couple of months. Tapos yung parang ano, syempre, yung parang, uy, Pinoy comics, ano yan? Parang, ganyan, di ba? Parang gano'n, di ba? And you know, it's in a way, it was the fact that Zsazsa Zaturnnah is designed as this big-breasted, sexy woman. Parang, in a way, parang, um, pa- um, parang tama yung sinasabi ng iba na medyo subversive siya. Kasi um, I had to sell copies in a comic book store that's frequented mostly by
straight
heterosexual men,
yeah.
diba?
Yeah.
So how do I get their attention? I'm gonna put a sexy girl on the cover with big breasts.
Yeah.
Ganyan. So yun. So may konting subversion dyan. Pero yun nga, yung parang, I really would give credit to the Inquirer article, the Inquirer review for giving Zaturnnah that big boost talaga. I don't think she would have gone that far in terms of sales if it weren't for that review. For the stage, I was just contacted by Herbie Go, who was then artistic director of Tanghalang Pilipino. And since I had a background in theater, I acted for New Voice Company for a time. So you could say na kilala ko siya. Kilala ko yung the entire magic and suspension disbelief of theater. And yung parang sige, game, parang ano, I trust theater to be able to capture the spirit of the comic book, ganyan. So hindi masyadong I did not read the final script. I only got to hear the music of Vince De Jesus, yung pinaka first draft niya. And I didn't really, I don't remember if I've ever attended a rehearsal though. I may have attended a session, pero not the entire run. I did not know what the entire run looked like until the very first day or the very first night of the show. So kumbaga biglang, so golpe de gulat na lang sa akin, parang bahala na yung ganyan. And it was a surreal thing on that first night talaga. Super surreal. I did get to meet Yula Valdez and the rest of the cast during a press conference weeks before, but the actual show, hindi ko siya na-enjoy. Honestly. Hindi ko na-enjoy yung first show. Kasi, parang, umaandar yung utak ko noon eh. Kasi yung one of my flaws is I tend to think too much. So habang pinapanood ko siya, I was more analyzing what they were doing than enjoying it.
Taking in the moment.
Oh, gano'n. Parang naging hyper-judgmental ako during the first night. Parang,
you were the critic. And you were your own worst critic, di ba?
Correct, ganyan. So parang, it was the first, and of course, syempre, there were moments there na parang, it wasn't perfect as a lot of first night theater shows are, ganyan, diba, yung ganyan. So yun, napapansin ko rin, yung ganyan, ako siniisip ko, okay, that didn't work, yung mga ganyan, oh, that was funny, okay. Hindi ako tumatawa, pero iniisip ko, oh, that was funny, yung mga ganyan. And I was observing the audience, observe ko rin yung reactions ng audience, ganyan. So talagang, hindi ko siya ina-absorb during that time. Siguro it was so just in short, it was really surreal, and I only got to start enjoying the show siguro mga after out of the 99 shows, siguro napanood ko 60% of them, pinanood ko siya. Ganon. Magastos siya going to and from CCP to where I am sa Marikina. Siguro mga after 20, 25 shows, doon lang ako nag-umpisa mag-enjoy yung ganyan. And going through the different iterations, you had Yula Valdez and Kay Brosas, then you had Isidro with Kalila Aguilos, and then all the other iterations. Up to that time, yung I remember previous interviews, yung sinasabi ko na parang prior to Zaturnnah, for the most part, LGBT representation is you're either sawi sa pag-ibig,
naloko,
magkakasakit ka, oo, di ba? Magkakasakit ka at mamamatay, mahirap ka, pangit ka, and nakakatawa ka. And of course, the worst part is you have all those 5 combined in one role. Diba? So, it wasn't really a conscious thing kasi when I write my characters, kasi I try to be as I don't, even until now when I write my stories, I'm not so much about agenda. I mean, consciously. I'm not so much about agenda consciously. Now, when I will write something to uplift the whatever, ganyan. I guess it's what I wanted to push for during that time was wala tayong pinagkaiba sa ibang tao. Lahat tayo gusto magbuhay ng marangal, lahat tayong gusto magtrabaho at kumita ng pera, lahat tayo gusto magkaroon ng love life. Lahat tayo gusto yung ganon. The whole movement of Ada from being this, bitter, disillusioned person na yung parang I just want to live life on my own terms. Kaya bahala kayo sa buhay ninyo basta ako kumikita ako at nagko-contribute ako sa ekonomiya. Parang wala na kayong masasabi sa akin. Okay, wala kayong masasabi sa akin. May trabaho ako. Okay? Okay, hindi ako nagsasaya ng buhay. And then of course, parang and then there's that central question of bakit in Ada's words, yung may mga bagay na hindi natin may paliwanag, yung mga misteryo sa buhay, yung ganyan, bakit ako naging bakla? And I'm sure that a lot of LGBTQ people, when they were young, when they were kids, they were faced with that question. Why did I end up like this? Yung ganyan. And then parang ultimately the answer to that question is yes, you can think about that question, you can try to answer it, but then ultimately, what if there's no answer? What are you going to do? You just have to move. Yung ganyan. You just have to just try it and make the most of what you have and be a good citizen and and hope that things get back to you if you believe in karma or the law of attraction or whatever. Yung ganyan. So it's a very understated thing na it's one of those kinds of stories na as it in itself it didn't need to be too in your face pagdating sa agenda yung ganyan kasi ultimately the Zaturnnah story is still the everyman, is still diba? It's not just LGBTQ, IA, diba? It's everyone. A lot of the buyers of the book were women. When I was trying to design the story for Zaturnnah, yung parang ang jump off point ko is I wanted to give her a classical, timeless feel. Yung tipong and this was a bit of trivia that I posted or that I mentioned to yung Facebook page ko. Take note that in the Zaturnnah story, it came out in 2002. No one in the cast uses a cell phone. There are no cell phones. There are no phones in that story. And then people will go, oo nga no, ganyan. So kumbaga, even though it is 2002, kung kailan niyo ginawa yung parang I did not saddle it in a certain time period where technology, yung present technology was So it gave that a sort of like a timeless feel, a classic timeless feel. So kumbaga, kaya naging you could say that in its purest sense, the story still holds. Even to this day, yung ganyan. The basic values na gusto niyang ipalabas are still here with us now. Of course, syempre, nandyan yung certain concerns. Personal concerns sa akin is number one, nandyan yung quality of the video.
Yeah.
Yun, that's one, the quality of the video. There were people who have complained about the quality of the video of El Bimbo.
Yeah.
But then, diba? And then El Bimbo was only recent. But then Zaturnnah was like over a decade ago. So, diba? So you tend to wonder, ano yung quality ng video na yan? So that's one correct. Diba? Video 8, yung mga ganyan. So that's one. Secondly, dyan din yung will there be parts that might feel dated? Yun din. Kasi yung since from 2011 until now, that's 9 years.
Yeah.
So kumbaga, if you're like 25 years old now, then back then you were like wala ka pang college, yung ganyan. So kumbaga iba yung mundo mo compared to compared to yung general sentiment ng mga tao when the musical came out. So there is a possibility that some things might look dated, which I hope people will understand that talagang it came from a certain time. Yeah. So yun lang. But overall, yun nga, the music is still great. People still long to find a copy of the soundtrack. It's still and it's arguably one of the longest running theater shows in recent years. The legacy, because I've always believed that the endurance of anything rests in the creator can only do so much. The legacy is in the hands of those who believe in her. Yung ganyan. So halimbawa, yung people who love Studio Ghibli stuff, yung parang hanggang ngayon, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, yung mga ganyan pa rin sila, ganyan. So it's not in Studio Ghibli's hands. It's in the hands of the fans to continue that in some way, shape, or form. So kumbaga sa akin, I can only continue to make stories kung economically kaya ko. But then eventually, it's up to the people who love her, who embrace her, to let her continue. We don't know what the status of LGBTQIA+ is going to be in the next few years, yung ganyan. And yung like any other superhero or any pop culture icon, yung parang yung thrusts niya will adjust with the times. It can also happen that her reach will even be greater than the community. Yung hindi lang siya nag-represent sa LGBTQIA+. It can even expand. We don't know. So again, it now depends on the people who follow her. So sa mga nanonood nito, or that's sa inyong mga kamay. Well, you have the Paolo Ballesteros, you have Vice Ganda, you have BL, you have and all these stories coming out. And then yung parang what I've noticed is that sa bawat kind of representation may reklamo. Yung ganyan. Di ba? May magreklamo kay Vice Ganda na parang hindi lahat ng LGBTQ ganyan. Tapos dun naman sa BL, hindi naman lahat ng LGBTQ ganyan. Diba? So mayroon parating puna yung ganyan. Pero I think yung parang for that to equalize or at least stabilize, you need representations of all aspects of it. So kumbaga with Vice and Paolo and BL, that's the male side of things, the biological male side of things. Then we need now the female side of things, the feminine. We need the queer aspect of it. Ganyan eh. And parang if all of them happen more or less at the same time, then you get representation. this is the spectrum of it all.
Mm.
Yung ganyan. Wag po kayong malito. Di ba? Marami kami, pero wag po kayong malito. Yung ganyan. Yeah, and then you have things like, RuPaul.
Yeah.
Jake Cyrus, you have, pero feeling ko, kailangan pa. You need more representatives from the other aspects then to come forward in some way.
Yeah.